missing typed.
Who do I whine to when I don't like my grade?
The computer. Unplug it and start over. And then,
Yeah.
and later on, the reading and language arts test questions will reference topics the students have learned about in other classes, not just reading. And inclusion of writing on all RLA reading and language arts tests. Combined reading and writing tests better supports the interconnected way these subjects are taught. Quote. This is our world and we get to deal with it. And then they talked about how our ratings are done, and mainly what I learned was the formula is really confusing. Really confusing, and the formulas are very complicated, and even Region 16 only has a few people that can translate those for us. But the main thing is that our students are doing very well. Dr. Rock's going to talk to us about that. And a lot of it has to do with our college career military readiness, which there's a big kink in that right now for the state, because you no longer can qualify under military readiness under intent. They can't just tell the counselor, I'm going into the military. It has to be confirmed as an enlistment, but the government is not sharing with the education side of the government who has enlisted. So no clue. That part of the formula is broken. There's a change on the career ready. No longer complete coherent sequence of coursework aligned with certification does not qualify anymore for career ready. And then they added industry certification, state, nationally, or internationally recognized programs, end of program that is stackable and valuable for industry. Do y'all need the formula? Should I cover anything? College ready outcomes? Are y'all all familiar with all that? Okay. That's school progress, academic growth. Dr. Rock's going to show that. Relative performance is how well we're doing versus the percentage of our students that qualify under FRL. So that comes into your school progress rating, which is not really something we can control. And then 30% of our grade is about closing the gaps, which ties into the federal accountability requirements, the Every Student Succeeds Act, that has to do with race, ethnicity, special education, economically disadvantaged, English learners, and continuously enrolled and mobile, which must be a 2020 update. Let's see. Y'all touched on this. Updated for 2021, districts and campuses will receive grades A, B, C, or not rated. No one's going to fail on an unknown formula. Y'all done the H, we're getting the goal update. About 500,000 students in the state of Texas are students in special education. And then there's guides to, that's the improving outcomes part. They're changing the terminology. It's a person first language. There's a lot of terminology changes where it's no longer an autistic child. It is a child with autism or a student with a disability. You no longer say, you say the person first and then the character term. First person language puts the person before the disability and describes what the person has, not what the person is, which is valid. That is a nice update, whether it actually helps anybody or not. And then the least restrictive environment, the LRE, is the maximum extent appropriate. LRE is to the maximum extent appropriate, children with disabilities, including children in public or private institutions or other care facilities, are educated with children who are not disabled. That is why there are children with special education, receiving special education services, trying to use the term.
Before LREs, we had mainstream.
Yes, yeah. Mainstream. Yeah, so but they call it mainstream, but it's under different, that's the whole thing. So they want the child to be in the environment that is the most least restrictive.
Inclusion. They're wanting
inclusion.
Inclusion.
Yes. As much inclusion as possible.
Same thing, new name.
Same thing, new name. Yeah, students with disabilities spend a majority of the time in the general education classroom. But according to this information from the state, the teachers feel unprepared to teach these students. So that's something the board is facing with helping them with having more paras to help with students, help them manage that in the classrooms, because most students receiving special education services are spending 80% or more of their academic day in a general education system, which means our normal teachers, our regular teachers, our everyday population teachers are interacting more with those children that they didn't necessarily receive specialized training for. So we need more people that have training to help them with that. We currently have quite a list, so just a fun update. Dr. Rock's going to tell us some really good news. Terminology change. It is no longer limited English proficient. It isn't for an English learner. Emergent bilingual student is what they are preferring us to use, because over 1 million students in the state of Texas are bilingual students, which they even use the term, / English learners, and then they emphasize the 6 state-approved program models for emergent bilingual students, and we have all of those, including our dual language immersion one-way program, which has been I'm learning a little bit about, and I think we're really lucky to have that program and that staff, and I believe it's helping those children be, this is not a report, but from what I see, they are more proficient in their original language, and then it's helping them build a foundation onto English. And those reports from Dr. Rock, again, shows that. So I'm proud of what y'all have done. Wes,
Thank you. I might add a couple, you covered pretty much everything that I checked off in my head that I was going to say. Thank you. So you've saved having to listen to me on everything. A couple of things that did stand out in the training that you did touch a little bit on, the changes in the STAR test that we're all going to have to be prepared for, that about the time we figure out what it is that they're going to be testing on, of course, it's going to change. I kept having this image in my head of a set of goalposts on wheels as they continue to move. Probably the most impressive thing of all the training, and we learned a lot. There was a lot of things that you see, and I think it was an eye-opener, especially for someone like Sarah that was her very first time to see this, is how confusing the calculations are. To be able to calculate what a final grade is for a district or for an individual campus. 70%, the best of this 70% plus 30% of this, and how it all adds up, and every lobbyist in school world has entered their own little portion of that calculation. But having said that, and this is a message for KYE, for KXDJ, and for the Perryton Herald that I hope are listening or will eventually watch the Facebook Live broadcast of this meeting. I implore you to pay very, very close attention to what Dr. Rock's about to talk about, because it is impressive.
Yes.
If you look at where we are in comparison to both Region 16 and to the state, head and shoulders above Region 16 and the state. Our staff, our administration have done a tremendous job of being able to push kids, being able to educate kids, and get them a step up on their cohorts that they see in other parts of the state. It's exceedingly awesome numbers that she's about to toss out to us. So I implore you, as media people, pay pretty close attention to this. And we really, really would like to be able to see this publicized. You hear a lot about, oh, the school's doing this, and oh, the school's doing that, and I don't like what this is good stuff. This are the successes that we have been talking about for the last couple of years in the midst of the whole pandemic crisis, but quotes around crisis. This district buckled down and put some things in place that have now shown to be very, very successful. So that was my biggest takeaway from the meeting we had, is being able to see those results. Richard, did you have anything you'd like to add, because you were at the meeting as well?
No, you guys got it covered.
Got it covered?
But that's a big amen on, please pay attention, everybody, public, congratulations to staff, kids, community, everybody on what we're about to hear.
Yep, it was really good. So should we bounce ahead to Dr. Rock now, then come back to director's reports?
Yep.
We good with that?
We're good with that, because she's sitting there waiting.
All right, Dr. Rock, take off.
Are you still there?
Come on, technology.
I'm still here. Give me a sec. Let me get my slideshow up.
Yeah, she's pulling that up. I do want to say something about that. Y'all did hear Sarah say that all testing will be online next year. So parents get ready for that, kids get ready for that, teachers get ready for that. The other thing that's coming up is formative assessments. I can't even think of the alphabet they threw out there. Do you remember that, Sarah?
Texas Form, TFAR.
TFAR. That's going to be a new term for education people and another requirement that we have to do that's coming down from the state. All right, Dr. Rock, you ready?
Give me 1 second.
And it basic, the TFAR stands for formative assessments. And Dr. Rock is in Abilene, I believe that's where she's at now, doing a CCMR learning deal with a couple other people.
Well, it's not wanting to share my screen. Give me 1 sec here, see if I can get it to come up.
It wouldn't be bad if everybody had a board book and had the charts in there, but not everybody has the chart.
Vanna White.
See the big red lines that are above everybody else's?
Yes.
Those are ours.
Those are ours.
Can you see the slides?
No.
No, I was holding up my board book.
He's doing a Vanna White. In for us.
That's scary.
Rodney, you may have to make me a presenter because it's not allowing me to present.
We're hearing you click, but we're not seeing anything.
There. Oh.
Oops, I thought we had it. We may hit the right button.
Okay, can you see that slide?
No.
See something that looks like a slide.
Looks like it's trying to load or something.
Share just a tab or a different window?
I'm sharing a window. It should have school board data report.
You think it's loading?
No, there's that little thing up in the box with the arrow.
You're just sharing a tab or a different, it says to avoid infinity mirror, which we saw a while ago. Don't share your entire screen or browser window, share just a tab or a different window.
Yeah, I'm sharing a different window.
And that's
That would be the infinity
finished
screen.
thing.
I wondered if that was it. There you go.
Oh, nuts!
Oh, what did you just do to us?
I think the mouse just.
Oh.
Oh,
Yay!
technology works.
There you
We
go.
got you.
Okay, so that's the first screen, the school board data report.
Yes,
Yep.
June 28th.
Okay, perfect. So on this data report, I'm going to be sharing the House Bill 3, our early childhood reading, early childhood math, and then our CCMR readiness. And then I'm going to share preliminary results. I want to stress preliminary results.
I like that word.
I've already talked to Mike.
DEA is still cleaning some of this data up, and I want to remind you too that all of the students that tested with us are showing on our data. So in October, when we send out our PIMS snapshot where they capture all of the students that are going to count for Perryton ISD, those are the students that are going to count for our district. Right now, our preliminary results have all of the students mixed in, and they haven't disaggregated that data. So if we have students from another district, they're still showing up on our preliminary data. They have not been taken out because they count for the district that submitted their report in October. So if we have some from Spearman, let's say, that came in and tested with us in the spring, then those students are still on our preliminary data, but they really will be reported with Spearman. So I want to make sure everybody understands that with our preliminary data results. And then I'm also going to share some historical data comparisons. Some of this data was shared during the January meeting when we went over accountability, but we've been able to add some more information to some of this data that we're sharing. So on our outcomes, this is our pre-K reading. For pre-K reading, the board set our outcome progress goal to reach 60% by June 2024. So on our data, you're going to see at the bottom, you see wave 1, 2022, wave 1, 2021. So I gave you a little bit of historical data here from last year to this year that we just completed. Wave 1 is the beginning of the year. The next section is wave 2, 21 and 22. That's the middle of the year. And then wave 3 is the end of the year. So I'm going to focus on the end of the year, 2022. You'll see that our pre-K students ended up with 71.25% on grade level, and our dual language ended up at 93.5. The target for this year for 2022 was 51. So we are way above the target that the board had set. These targets were set without any baseline data, so we had to start with some baseline data. But now that we have the baseline data, we'll be able to go ahead and make some revisions next year on these targets. Because if you see the trend here, we have been surpassing the target since last year, wave 1, all the way through wave 3, 2021. And then once again, pre-K surpassed those scores from last year to this year. So you see that trend continuing to grow. Moving on to math, this is pre-K math. The goal was for the students to be at least at 60% on grade level for math. Same process, wave 1, we have historical data last year, 2021 to 2022 this year. Wave 1, beginning of the year, wave 2, middle of the year, wave 3, end of year. Focusing in on wave 3, 2022, you'll see that the target for the board was 53% of the students. The classes in the English classes ended up with 94% of the students on grade level, and the dual language classes ended up with 100% of the students. So kindergarten, you have some very strong students coming in for kindergarten this coming year. In kinder, going through the reading, same process, 60% by June 2024. The wave 1, 2, and 3 are the same, beginning, middle, and end. You'll see that the wave 3, our English classes ended up at 88.83% on target, and our dual language at 69.57%, both still above the targets. On this one, we will continue to monitor the small groups, especially in our dual language, and focusing in on some of the basic foundational skills for reading, including letter sounds, blending, and decoding. That's where we had a little bit more of a struggle. Going on to the math, kindergarten math, wave 1, 2, 3, focusing in on this year, end of year, wave 3. The goal was 53% of the students on target, and both the English was at 91% and the dual language at 97% on grade level. So this is exciting for the students moving into the first grade next year. So we'll continue to have data reviews and implement these after each assessment for beginning, middle, and end, so that we have more targeted intervention and support for the students, and adjusting any instructional practices accordingly based on those data reports, the formative assessments. Moving into first grade, this is based on our TPRI. The board goal was 83%. That was the target for this year. If you look at this chart, we have historical data from 18-19, which is pre-COVID. Then 19-20 was COVID. 2021 data is on here. This year's data, 21-22 data, and then separately our dual language data. So this is the highest that our dual language goes through in our cohort. So we are up to first grade. So looking at the data for 21-22, you'll see that our beginning of the year is in the blue, the middle of the year is in the red, and the end of the year is in the yellow. So end of year, we ended up with 68% of the students on grade level for our English classes, and 69% of the students on grade level for our dual language class. So this one shows it is off track. And I do want to remind you that these are the students that may or may not have gone to pre-K. And then, of course, we've had interruption the last 2 years, including this past year. So this is when the most crucial parts of reading foundation is happening as they're learning to read. So we're still trying to catch up with our foundational skills here in first grade. We are working on aligning our phonics program. We are finally all of our grade levels, kindergarten through second grade, actually through third grade, have the same phonics program. So this is the first year that it was implemented in first grade, in kinder and in first grade. So we're hoping with this alignment that we'll continue to see improvement with these outcomes. And then additional resources are also going to be purchased to support students so that we can continue to see that increase of students being on grade level. In second grade, our reading TPRI, once again, historical data along the bottom, pre-COVID, 19-20 COVID, 2021 data, and then this year's data. We have a target of 83% was the HP3 goal for second grade. The end of this year, we had 73% of the students that were on grade level, but I want you to look at the growth. Starting at 51% to 63 to 70 to 73. So we continue to see that 10% growth throughout the year. So continue to work on this as well. This is the second year that the teachers have implemented some new resources for phonics. We're hoping that with the alignment from kinder on up, that we're going to continue to see growth with the second grade as well. Moving into third grade reading. The goal was to have 60% of the students on grade level, which is at the meets level, based on the performance levels set by TEA. So you'll see some historical data on here. We have the purple in the approaches, which is not on grade level, but the state does count that as passing, and then the meets grade level, and then the masters in the green for this year as well. So looking at the meets, we were at 52%, and that was above the board target. I'm sorry, I didn't include that on there, but the board target was 51%. So we did meet that target. We are on track for third grade reading. Wanted you to see the growth, so you'll see the trend line continuing to grow there. Starting in 19 pre-COVID, we've continued to grow in the approaches, we've continued to grow in the meets. Huge gains there in the meets from 41% last year to 52%, and then even in the masters. Last year, third grade performed at 16%, and they reached 22% this year. In the math, once again, some historical data here, 19 to 22, and this is broken out in approaches, meets, and masters. The board goal was to have 53% of the students on grade level, which is the blue. They were at 54%, so they are on track. They met the board outcome for the third grade math. Once again, I want you to see the growth from last year, 21 to 22 at the meets level, 54% from 38. And also at the master's level, which shows that they are above grade level and on track for college and career readiness. They were at 15% last year and currently at 27% this year. Moving into CCMR, this is another one of the HB3 goals. The goal is to have 90% of the students reach or have CCMR at the high school by August 2024. Our 2021 CCMR is at 60%. The board target is 84%. I do want to remind you, though, that our 2021 CCMR is based on 2020 graduates. Our CCMR data is always 1 year behind. So when we receive the 2022, it'll be about 2021 graduates. And just last week, I received a confirmation from the high school that they had gone in to review our tracking documents with TEA to ensure that all of the students had received that credit that had earned it. In your board book, you should have also received the breakdown of the data table that shows the number of graduates included in here that met the TSI, for reading, for math, the students that took the key examinations that received credit, the dual credit, and the students that were taking the on-ramps, and any of our students receiving special education services that graduated with advanced degree plans. Okay, here we go. Start preliminary results. Wright Elementary. So I'm giving you the approaches, meets, and masters. This is the same as what I just shared in the HB3 goals, just in a different format. So it gives you some historic information here too, from 2019, last year to this year, 21 to 22. So approaches, this year the students performed at 85%, and last year it was at 80 in reading, 41% meets, 52% this year, so lots of growth there, more students on grade level. And then at the master's level, we had 16% last year, 22% this year. So lots of growth there in third grade reading. In math, this year we're showing 80% at approaches. Last year stayed the same. However, I want to bring your attention to the meets. We went from 38% on the meets level last year to 54%, which is a 16-point gain there with students being on grade level. At the master's level, we had 15% last year, 27% this year, which is again another 12-point gain there. So kudos to all of the teachers, including all of the kinder and first and second, as you are the ones setting the foundation for these students as well. Kudos to our third grade team, our instructional coaches, principal. Good job, and we hope to continue to support you in helping grow our students to the meets and masters levels. Williams Intermediate, this is for our fourth grade reading. Saw lots of gains here from 66% to 85% this year. That's tremendous growth. And then at the meets level, from 33% to 63%, that's a 30-point gain there. And then at the master's level, went from 14% to 26%, a 12-point gain there as well. In math, we see 71% to 75%, so 4-point gain there, we'll take it. And then at the meets level, 43% to 45%, also a 2-point gain there. And then didn't see as much as of a gain there at the masters, but still 20%, so doing great. At the 5th grade, we had a growth of 4 points from 86 to 90% of the approaches level. At the meets level, we saw some great gains, a 15-point gain from 52 to 67%, and then masters 38%. At 5th grade math, 94% from 90%. We went from 68% to 69 at the meets level, and then in masters, we had a bit of a decrease. In science, we went from 9 to 51%. At the meets level, we went from 41% to 58%, and at the masters, 19 to 32%, a 13-point gain there. And the meets had a 17-point gain. So once again, Williams Intermediate, got a rocking it, good job. We are starting to see 5th grade probably has an A there, given that we're in the 90, 60, 30 ranges for each of the different ones, approaches, meets, and masters. So good job. Thank you, students and parents, for all your support. Moving into the junior high. Saw gains here as well. 6th grade reading, we went from 71% to 81%. At the meets level, 37% to 47%, and 14% to 31%. Huge gains there with 6th grade reading. So great job, students, parents, and teachers. 6th grade math, we went from 83% to 84%. At the approaches level, meets 50% to 38%, and then masters 18% to 16%. Going into 7th grade reading, 85% at the approaches level and grew from 78%. At the meets level, 56% to 64%, and at the master's level, 27 to 42%, that's a 15-point gain there. In 7th grade math, we went from 64 to 66%, 23 to 25%, and 6 to 7%. So still seeing some growth there. Writing we don't add because now it's been integrated into reading, so that will be added into reading now. That's what we're going to have to focus on writing in the coming years, this coming year. Going into reading, we went from 85% to 89% at the approaches level, 50% to 69% at the meets level, 19% to 40% at the master's level. That's a 27-point gain. At the masters, a 19-point gain at the meets, and a 4-point gain at the approaches. Our math for 8th grade was 87% to 77%. Meets, we were at 46%, and masters, we were at 17%. I do want to bring your attention to go back to the 7th grade math, since that was the cohort that was testing in 8th grade math. You will see growth from 66% to 77%, so these students are growing. Which is it's exciting to see. And then the masters also went from 25% to 46%, and from 7% to 17%. So that cohort of students has shown growth. Our 8th grade algebra, 100% at approaches, 100% at meets, and 85% at masters, a growth of 11 points from 74% last year. Our 8th grade science, 88% for approaches, 60% for meets, and 37% for masters. Our social studies, 63%. For approaches, 29% for meets, that's a 6-point gain, so moving the kids to on grade level. And then at masters, we were at 17%, a 9-point gain from 8% last year. Junior high, this is amazing. So we continue to see that growth, and we'll continue to be out of that school improvement. So that's exciting, even though we'll still monitor. We have to monitor for 2 years, but I know that we're going to continue to see the success. So good job, teachers, administrators, students, parents, for all your support. Moving into the high school, our EOC English 1, our approaches was at 80%. We saw a 2-point gain there from 78% last year. At the meets level, 64%, 6-point gain from 58% last year. And then they ended at 66% with the master's level. At the English 2, we saw 86%. At approaches, a 3-point gain from last year of 83. At the meets level, 75%, a 6-point gain from 69%. And in the masters, we had 14%, a 4-point gain from last year, 10%. In Algebra 1, we saw 89% at the approaches level. We saw 60% at the meets level, and we saw 30% at the master's level. That one's really close to an A as well. The 90%. In biology, we had 89% at the approaches level, gain there from 88%. We saw a huge gain at the meets level. We had 13-point gain from 46% to 59%. And then at the meets level, we had 9%. The U.S. history, we had 89% of the approaches. Meets 59%, we saw a gain there of 1 point, and then masters we ended up at 24%. So great job, high school as well. We're very proud of the progress that we continue to make and show on our student achievement. Going into Ludi Pena, you'll see this one is a little bit different. It doesn't show the historic data, but this is what we currently have as our preliminary data. For our EOC English 1, we had 40% on approaches. That number in parentheses is 2 students, so that represents 2 students. Our EOC English 2, we ended up at 31%, that's 4 students. And then at the approaches level and at the level 23%, that includes 3 students. In Algebra 1, 25% at approaches, that's 1 student. In biology, we had 67%, that represents 2 students. In U.S. history, we had 77% at approaches, that represents 7 students. At the meets level, 44%, 4 students, and at the master's level, 22%, and that's 2 students. So very proud of these students as well, and the hard work that they put into their STAR exams. Thank you to the teachers as well. Okay, moving into some historical comparison charts. These are going to be comparisons of the state to the region to our district. So looking from 2017, 2018, 2019, we skipped 2020 because that was COVID, and then 2021 last year, and then this year, 2022. So all grades, all subjects at their approaches level. We ended up the year with 83% of the students across the district at approaches. Region was at 76%. So we were above the region 16, and we don't have state data yet, but we anticipate historically that's been a little bit lower if you look at that historic. So going back and looking at our trend lines, you'll see that in 17, in 18, and in 19, Perryton ISD was below the region and the state. So starting last year, even with the pandemic going on and all the struggles, we surpassed the state and the region. and we continued our trend line in the upward direction. Even this year, we have surpassed the region, anticipate surpassing the state as well, and we continue to see that growth at the approaches level, which is very exciting. At the meets level, this is comparison data from last year to this year. We don't have the state data for this year yet, but once again, we surpassed the state last year. We surpassed the state, the region last year and this year. This year, the district was at 56% of the students on grade level, where last year we were at 48%, so tremendous growth here as well. At the master's level, all subjects, all grades. Once again, last year we started surpassing the state and the region. We ended up at 21%. This year, the region was at 21% and the district is at 26%. And that's at the master's level. Once again, we continue to show that trend of that upward movement and growth for our students. This is historic data through last year. We don't have all the information in yet to show all of this year, but just showing the trend. Once again, 17, 18, 19, we were below the state and the region in reading. But then last year, we surpassed them, ended up at 78%, the region was at 72%, and the state was at 68%. So 10 points higher than the state there, and 6 points higher than the region. For math, our historic data, once again, in 17, 18, and 19, we were below the state and the region with the same as the state in 2019, pre-COVID there. And then last year we surpassed all of that. So we ended up last year at 83%. The region was at 77 and the state was at 66. Once again, this is in math. Lots of data that I just shared, lots of great exciting news. So do you have any questions?
Questions?
Preliminary, let me push back, and Marie, you know I'm gonna do this. You push back in preliminary a little bit. Yes, it's preliminary, but you're not expecting any big changes. We're still gonna be on top of the state and on top of the region, correct?
That's what we anticipate, yes.
In theory.
You're so
Yes.
careful. Congratulations, that's wonderful. It's a long road, guys.
And Dr. Rocket, just so everybody understands this, now that is the region average. That is the state's average that we're above. It doesn't say that we're the best school in the region. It just says we're above the average schools.
So do we have the individual district scores?
We don't, but we will be checking to see who is the
I'd be
best.
very curious to see. That's a lot of progress,
Everyone
but
loves
we need
competition.
bragging rights,
Yeah,
because that's a good job.
I mean, from going from below the region and below the state
That's
2 years
fantastic.
ago to being above, it's huge gain
Huge.
for our
And
students and our
steady.
teachers.
Steady is more impressive and sustainable.
Yeah.
It is steady.
Much better just a one-off spike higher.
Yes.
That just all the credit has to go to the teachers, the staff, and the administrators, and everybody that's involved, and everything that we've been talking about for so long, from a curriculum alignment to really keeping all of our noses to the grindstone to be able to just push forward. And I think our response as a community and even as a region to COVID also has something to do with this, that we kept kids in school, we kept teachers in front of them, and provided them the resources to be able to provide the education to them. I'm just very, very impressed. Again, after seeing these charts and going through, I'm probably being over effusive in my praise here, but this is a tremendous step forward for this district.
Yes. Agreed.
Anything else for Dr. Rock?
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And I want to give Dr. Rock the credit, because she is our numbers person and our numbers cruncher and keeps up with all the data. So a huge thanks to her for keeping up with all that stuff. Thank you, Dr. Rock.
Thank you, Mr. Leaders.
Okay, we'll back up then to director's reports and start with Mr. Kemp. Okay, anything to add to what you have? Any questions for Alan? Technology report. Anything to add?
Anything to add?
How do you feel like we're coming along as far as internet capabilities since we're going to be online testing?
We've been doing this for quite a while, like at the junior high and for years, and we're increasing our wireless bridges from Ludi to the junior high, and from the junior high here, and from the high school here, and like almost to a factor of 10 our backbone to each of those places. And I don't know, we're increasing the total bandwidth of the whole school.
So do you think we're halfway there, 3/4 of the way there to be able to test all kids online, or do you think we're there?
I think we're there,
You think
although
we're there?
I really feel like we're there, but we're still going to increase a bunch of things. We put up some of the bridges and just to increase it, so that I'm trying to eliminate bottlenecks and just ensure that those points aren't bottlenecks.
We'd rather it be the state's fault for
Yes.
something going wrong with the
Yes.
server than ours.
Yes,
So
and like, like this last year, we had every kid at the junior high go in and when we benchmark test, the only difference is you turn in your answer. Next year, we will turn in the answer on there, online, but we've just been, with benchmark, the kids take the test and they fill out a paper. And like that all went very smoothly, and that was virtually every kid in the junior high at the same time.
Okay.
Will we have an opportunity to dry run to know before we go with the
That'll be the
start?
benchmark.
Okay.
Benchmark. Okay.
And the other thing, guys, that's gonna be different is the whole state's gonna be testing all at once, and that's a lot of kids. So hopefully, that doesn't close all the lines up.
I really assume that there will be problems, but not at our end.
Okay, but we are talking to Region 16. They are bringing some instruments out where they can measure our stuff. And Michael Keogh is gonna come out, and we're gonna make sure, we're gonna use our thinking and then also theirs to make sure exactly that does not happen.
you bet.
Does everyone benchmark at the same time?
They do it at the campus.
Not the whole state.
But not the whole state?
Oh,
So there won't be
yeah.
a true test?
No, there won't be a true
Of
test
course.
till the real test.
Until the real test comes up.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay, communications
Darren is on vacation.
is on vacation.
I'm
Questions?
assuming.
We will submit. Ms. Walker? I was looking behind there. That's not her. I couldn't tell who was sitting behind you.
I will say this, Wes is doing it, on that next, lunch board meeting, she'll have something for us on meals and
On
prices
the
and
meal
stuff.
costs.
Right. I'm glad you mentioned that.
Since, once again, to keep the announcement out there, no more free lunch, right?
That is correct.
Starting
Okay.
this fall. So, Ranger Roundup.
I did have a few updates to my report, but I wanted to highlight a few things in my report just because of our involvement in the community for our Ranger Roundup. The first thing that I wanted to highlight was that our children went and participated in passing out Snack Pack for Kids at the community park, which I thought was wonderful that our teachers set that up for our kids. And then our staff attended a water safety training, and we received a donation of life jackets from that training for our campus, so we can participate in water days at the pool this summer with our kiddos. So some good things that we have going on over there. We did have a drop in our numbers. For the summer, a lot of our teachers just aren't bringing their kiddos for the summer. They're home enjoying them, which is okay. So we did lose 7 families for the summer, 6 children. will not be returning because they have moved out of Perryton, but we do have an anticipated 5 more children with an August start date, so those numbers will be aligned come August. And then we did not have a COVID case since January, and we just recently had one and were asked to quarantine, but we are all healthy and have returned. And then I wanted to introduce Mrs. Kristen Poe as the new Assistant Director for Ranger Roundup. We have lost Mrs. Ruth to y'all, to your side. Rallying them and not keep taking them. But that's good for us all around, so just wanted to share those updates.
Thank you. CFO's report.
Okay, right now we have a healthy cash flow. My report starts on page 39. The disbursements go until page 84. TEA has had a much quicker turnaround with our ESSER drawdowns, which has helped. You'll notice on page 90 and then on page 96 that we actually have some CDs invested for cafeteria and for Ranger Roundup, so they're getting a little bit of return on their cash that they're not using at this time. I feel pretty confident in all of our functions right now. The only one that I see we may potentially have another budget amendment on would be transportation. Otherwise, we're in pretty good shape across all of our functions. It's obvious that even though we're a school district, we're still not safeguarded from inflation.
Is that fuel? Okay.
It was higher on last diesel delivery than it should have been. And then also just the lack of care of our transportation fleet the past couple of years, not the recent few months, but just the past couple of years. Also enrollment, we ended with 2017 students the last day of school. Compared to last year, it was 2,065. It's a 48 student difference. That's not ADA. Please keep that in mind. I'll get into budget a little bit more later whenever we hit that action item for salaries, but I would like to put it on the board's radar to hold a budget working section later, perhaps after we get the official numbers from our appraisal district and our MCR from PEA.
Are we talking late July, early August?
Yes, sir.
Timeframe?
Right around.
I did have a quick question
Yes.
about, there were 2 large checks to Amazon.
Okay.
And just a concern and something people should be aware of it. And some of them were itemized as to what they were, and it seemed like things that are available in town. And I just would like to encourage everybody to support our local tax base.
And I appreciate that, and I think
And I
you're
know
right.
it's come up before, but.
Oh, yes, and we've actually created an Amazon station here.
I
I
love
don't-
it.
What?
I love it.
Okay, we're requiring that Amazon orders be placed here in-house, and then our assistant goes and checks them, make sure they're correct and going to be delivered to the correct campus. The way it was being done before is they would just email her, please order this from me on Amazon, and she would be the one taking care of it. But now they have to come over here, place the order. Since we implemented that, we've only had 1 Amazon order placed. That was like 2 weeks ago.
That's good, because I think we had tried to emphasize that we need to be local buying, and we were willing to give some slack on the pricing as opposed to buy everything from Amazon.
That's
To
wonderful.
Sarah's point, we don't get any community support from Amazon. I love the selection, but at the same time, it doesn't do us, our community, much good.
Half the time it's fake anyway.
We're supposed to have a unstated policy, I think.
15%.
Yeah.
Yes.
10% supposed to be local.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wonderful, great.
Anything else? Okay.
That's all for that.
Well, thank you. Consent agenda items. We have minutes of a couple, 3 different meetings here. Do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the consent agenda items. Any additional discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
Let's go, it's not fun.
Action items. First item on the list, consideration and possible action for hiring personnel for the 22-23 school year. Mr. Morales.
I recommend that we hire the below personnel on a one-year probationary certified teacher contract for the 2022-2023 school year. Amy Valdez as Williams music teacher and Susan Francis as Perryton High School science teacher. I also recommend that we hire the below personnel on a one-year probationary certified teacher's contract for the 2022-2023 school year, pending recommendations of an alternative certification program. Kyle Werner, theater at the high school, Rachel Kano, math at the high school, Grace Walsh, Ludi Martin, science, Melissa McCreary, English at the high school, and then Haley Bennett, Wright teacher.
Do I hear a motion?
Moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded to hire the following, or personnel that were just listed. Is there any other discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Next item on the agenda is policy update 119, and I'm sure that we all read it over the weekend, dove in, wore out, highlighters.
What does it say, Wes?
I did.
That would be it.
I have questions about some of it.
My suggestion, as would be
We
with
should-
most policy updates that we have, is, we get it 72 hours before or 84 hours before a meeting, and there's a lot in this policy update that requires a little more looking at than we have just in our normal time frame between when we get the meeting material and then have the meeting. So my suggestion would be that we just table this until the next regularly scheduled meeting, and give us a chance to take a look at it if we have any questions. Because there's a lot of stuff in this particular update. Just looking at the highlights, 2 pages worth of just little updates on which code is being adjusted. So if everybody's cool with that, from a consensus standpoint, we'll just table that to the next meeting. Next item, consideration of possible action on revised resolution with Perryton National Bank concerning authorized banking powers.
We'll just need to switch the signatures to yourself, Mr. Bill, and Mr. Gator as the additional signers on the checks and checking account.
Do we need a motion to approve the resolution?
Yes, sir.
As written?
So moved.
Moved and seconded to approve the resolution as included in our material, to change those signatures to reflect the new orientation of the board. Any additional discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Consideration and possible action on recommended stipends and salary schedules.
So we're on page 167 for this one. This is continuing the same plan as last year. The teacher schedule is unchanged. It has the step increases from a certified teacher beginning with 0 years experience at $40,000, and then going to a teacher that pops out at 30+ years at $60,000. Then on the next page is just in comparison to the state minimums, just showing you that we are above the state minimums. On page 169 has all of the athletic stipends and the provisions for extra days for fall sports, spring sports, and there are no changes on that one. Excuse me, no changes from last year. Page 170, the academic stipends, and the one that has been added, nothing's been removed on this one, it would be the telepass coordinator. It's the only one that was changed on page 170. And then you'll see on page 171 the administrative and professional pay grades, and you can use those on the next page on 172. Most of these stay the same. You can see there in kind of the middle column the ones that have a proposed salary increase, and then I believe there's just very few additions, and they're individuals that have already been approved prior to this meeting. on page 173 is the counselors and the SSA. They're paid on a daily rate, which was switched a couple of years ago so that they can be more in line with the state averages of their peers. Page 174 has the clerical administrative staff and the paraprofessional pay grades. And we use those on the next page on 175. Of course, no one's in pay grade 1. Everyone will start out in pay grade 2. And just like every year before, they have a step increase dependent on years of experience. And then the stipends for those are listed at the bottom as well. On page 176 is your manual pay grades. And then they receive a longevity, only custodians, food service, and maintenance receive that longevity increase each year. Note that bus drivers are paid at $16.50 an hour. All of these have no changes as far as from last year to this year. Same on the paras. If anyone has any questions on a particular salary or salaries, I welcome any questions, or feel free to talk to me privately if you need on any of those.
Questions, comments? Action?
Second. Do we need to say the action before we make the motion? Just to accept?
We're just moving to accept.
Moving to accept.
That's good. Just a motion to accept as presented.
Second.
It's moved and seconded to accept the recommendations on stipends and salary schedules as presented. Any additional discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Next on the list, deliberation and possible action to appoint a trustee to Perryton ISD Board of Trustees. Any action on the part of the board?
I recommend Brassell, appoint Brassell. I'll make a motion.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded to appoint Bryce Hale to finish this particular term until the next upcoming election in May of '23. Is there any additional discussion?
I just think we should have stayed with what was given to us on the applications.
Any other discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 5-1. Next item, consideration and possible action to select a construction manager at risk to provide services relating to the district's facilities improvement projects, RFP 2022-01, and authorizing the superintendent or his designee to take actions as needed on the district's behalf. That's a mouthful.
That was. Here's my recommendation. I move that the board adopt the resolution as presented, selecting Huesman Builders, Inc. as a construction manager at risk for the district's facility improvement projects, RFP 2022-01, and authorizing the superintendent to negotiate a suitable contract with the construction manager or take other actions as needed to secure an acceptable contract on behalf of the district, subject to final board approval.
Have we seen the dollars associated with this?
This is that ESSER funding projects, which was $2 million approximately.
For the manager at risk or for?
No, not what,
Yeah.
he's just gonna charge, that's what the total value of the projects that are being done. He's gonna talk to Alan, because Alan's gonna work with him really closely, and what we can do, we will save money by doing. What we can't do, then they will do.
Okay.
But there will be a percentage, the district will lose some HVAC units because we're having to pay this. This is sort of like the architect and engineering that we had to do also.
It's required.
It's required, and anytime you're gonna deal with federal money in Edgar, you better have all your dots and things crossed.
Yeah, that's why I asked.
It's gonna cost us.
It all costs us because we dipped our finger into federal funds.
There you
And
go.
you have to give
And
some.
we get to follow the rules that they have put out to be able to dip your finger in said funds.
So, I
So-
move that, what he said.
You'll repeat all that. Come on, Sarah, you'll repeat all that.
I can.
We have a motion, do we have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded
What are we voting on again after that?
that we adopt the resolution as presented, selecting Houston Builders as the construction manager at risk for the district facilities improvement projects. But it's coming. We have a motion and a second. Is there any additional discussion on this subject? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Consideration of possible action on the District of Innovation local policy revisions, which were all listed in our board book as well.
Yeah, quite a bit.
Yeah. There's a lot, yeah.
Is this something that we need to do today, or is this something that we can all take home and read?
You can take home and read. I can do
It is-
it. I don't think
We're
there's.
not jumping on anybody's schedule by not addressing it.
Tonight. I
Tonight.
think we could do it the next one.
We could take a look at that. So, if
And one of
everyone's good
these-
with that,
Yeah.
we'll take a look at it and
Pretty old.
bring it back up at our next meeting.
Yep.
Okay?
Borrowing.
And our last discussion item, we will also take care of at our next meeting as well, where we will have all of our, concerning staff firearms policy, we will have all of our information in hand the next time that we're able to meet and be able to take action on that as well.
Our
unless somebody
regular
had-
meeting or our next meeting?
Our next meeting,
Our next meeting.
which our next,
So next item.
we will have another called meeting probably next week sometime.
A special meeting.
Special meeting, there we go. Special meeting to be able to take care of a couple things, and this will be one of, that we'll take care of on there as well. Is there anything else to bring before the district?
Do you want to still plan your next regularly scheduled?
Oh, shoot, yes, we probably should. Thank you. I should read the agenda because that's the next thing on the agenda. Next regularly scheduled meeting,
No, yeah.
we look at July. The fourth Tuesday would be the 26th.
I'm good with that.
Anybody good? Anybody not good with the 26th, I guess? Okay.
Wes, do you want me to invite Bryce to that one or the lunch one?
The lunch one.
Lunch one, okay. I will invite him.
Okay, 7:26. 6 PM, be there, be square. Be our next regularly scheduled board meeting.
So you adjourn.
We will adjourn.
That'll have a long one for us.
9:10, that's not bad.
The first one was at 8 o'clock. I was like, all right.
I'm looking at it going.
Time sitting in this chair.